Welcome everyone. How's it going? How is it going? Happy Tuesday, July 6th. Let me know if my audio is coming in okay. 1 second. I'm just gonna close my Probably should have done that before I started. How's it going, Gage, King? Yeah, let me know if my audio is clear here. I fixed a couple of things from my past videos, so I apologize for the terrible mic that I had on one of my overdrive videos, but let's talk stock. I mean, Tesla's down 3.36% today. Obviously, I think we all know that. As to what it is, there's a multitude of answers. How's it going? Too many fills. Hey. There's a multitude of answers today, I think, to talk about. And I think what's going to be important here is that we not only obviously talk about those things, but we talk about Parker, how's it going? But we talk about where this could potentially lead. Me personally, I was kind of looking for this dip. I mean, I in my video yesterday on the earnings ramp up, I said on any sell-off of Tesla, I'd be happy to buy a shorter term position, which is what I did. Now, the problem is I'm undercapitalized at the moment, so I don't have, the position that I'd ideally want. And I have my Interactive Brokers pulled up here. But here's the thing I'm thinking is this sell-off for me could be potentially a shorter term play to the long side. Now, big caveat that I have here in my plan is that we have to hold levels. So if we talk about levels, this is the hour, I'll pull up the hourly chart. On the hourly chart, we gap filled. If you remember, we broke open from 650 and we gapped up to 675. We've now filled that gap on the downside. The key here is we need to hold this 650-ish level. Holding this level, I think it's actually 655 or 654 or something like that, is the pivot. Now, holding this level is key for a reversal if we're going to see one. And what's causing this is interesting as well. If we talk about FUD, let's pull that up actually for a second. So for FUD, by the way, actually, yes, did get our Elon reply yesterday, which was great, but RIP my notifications. Bloomberg has an article out today, a FUD article on Tesla. Tesla's fall from grace in China shows the perils of betting on Beijing. Elon Musk won advantages unheard of for Western businesses. Then came the reality check. Guys, this is very, very similar to Apple. If we talk about Apple, Apple has a huge presence in China. Okay, Gatch says I'm breaking. Hopefully I'm not. Apple has a huge presence in China as well. You know, we talk about Apple potentially being run by the CCP, and to a degree there is a truth to that. But this article talks about how there's no demand in China, right? And I think that's unfair to say. We've seen the numbers come out of China. We've seen the FUD come out of China. What's interesting is this article came out market open today. Another one came out today. It's like pretty coordinated. It seems like a family of a 15-year-old killed in a car crash with Tesla and Autopilot suing the company. Obviously, very sad situation here. First of all, why is a 15-year-old driving the car? And also, so according to the complaint, so-and-so was riding with his father in August 2019 when their car was struck by a Tesla. Giovanni wasn't wearing a seatbelt and was ejected from the vehicle. Sad, very sad, honestly. But what's interesting is not, I think it's important to dissect away from the family for a second, because obviously they're grieving and it's a sad event of what happened. But this article has come out pretty much at market open this morning to feed into the down cycle of Tesla. Now, we know for a fact that a lot of the move for the downside actually happened this morning. If we pull up the 5-minute chart for this morning, we sold off essentially from market open, which we opened at 681, rallied up a couple of bucks, and then proceeded to, in the next half an hour, sell off all the way down to 657. And majority of the volume, if we talk about volume weighted average price today, it's sitting at 663. So if we're talking about a mean reversion on the day, potentially we could be looking for coming back to the VWAP. And if that happens, we'll see. But downside is 651, or low for the day is 651.40. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's quite the coordinated attack. Now, a couple of things I'm thinking here is one is, if it, like, is this an opportunity to get in on a discount prior to earnings ramp up? Macro today, if we talk about macro, the Qs are, by the way, Amazon's killing it today, up 5% almost. The Qs are pretty much flat for the day, up 15 basis points. SPY is down 42 basis points. Yields are down today. If we look at TNX, where do I have it pulled up here? TNX is down 5%. So yields are down 5% on the day today. And so, how's it going, Alex, Harry? And if we talk about selling off, I mean, this could be potentially a point of entry for me. It is. I've scaled into something. Let's see if I continue to scale into it. We're gonna have to see a confirmation to the upside, though. Obviously, when we talk about Tesla, it's gonna make exaggerated moves all day long. So that's just the way it is. And let's see here. So 651 is low for the day. 657 is where we're sitting at the moment. And let me just pull this up for a second here. Let's see here. Yeah, exactly. It's quite exaggerated as to what's happening. If I had to sum up what I think is kind of happening in China, is it's kind of this. My feeling is that China is still having to confine Tesla in the way that Apple is now essentially moving hand in hand with the CCP. Tesla is not there yet, in my opinion, but I think China is doing its best to get Tesla to do that. I think the biggest issue, if we narrow it down in China for Tesla, is that Tesla has internal cameras in their cars, and all the data that is being sent, I think China is scared that data can then be leaked or sent to overseas data centers. So I think that's the biggest root cause of the issue. Obviously, there's money and potentially how China can just take more control of Tesla. Definitely partly true as well. But I think a lot of it spurs out of the control for the data. So yeah, interesting day today. By the way, yes, my road trip is over, about 1,500 kilometers done on the Model 3, my first big road trip. And it was awesome. Had a great time on the roadie. We supercharged, believe it or not, we only had to really supercharge 4 or 5 times either way. So yeah, it's I was talking with someone, actually. I stopped at the supercharger and I was talking with someone. This fellow Russian man came up to me, super nice guy, and he's like, "Hey, excuse me, do you have like 15 minutes to talk?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." And I found, like, people wanted to stop and talk about, like, how do the cars work? Like, is this a charger? Do they have like free internet? How many times do you have to charge? So there's a lot of questions that you get at these superchargers. But this guy was not happy with my answers. I was telling you about, in the Model 3 standard range, how I drove 800 kilometers and then stopped 3 or 4 times, or about 4 times. He's like, "Oh, 4 times, that's way too many times to stop." And I was like, "Well, you can get the long range." And he didn't seem too open to it. But I'm pretty sure I probably sold a couple of other people onto Teslas during the supercharger stops that we had. Harry says, Tesla issued in China might be SpaceX relationship with US military. You know what? That's also part of it. And I think Starlink, great point, Harry, because, Starlink gives internet to around the world. And I think there's obviously concern in China and the CCP about potentially boycotting a lot of their restrictions for websites and their censorship laws around that. So great point. Great point. Yeah, it says a lot of my friends want to buy a Tesla but can't find a car to test drive. Really? Just go to a supercharger, wear a mask, get sanitized, and I bet you someone will give you a test drive there. Meliel, FYI, Amazon is up because Pentagon canceled the $10 billion contract that was awarded to Microsoft. Really? Okay. I think that's also part of it. I think it's also part of the yields going down. Amazon, $4,000 was my price target end of the year. Personally, I always thought $4,000 Amazon might hit by the end of the year. I think I tweeted that out a couple months ago. Alex says, hit the like, spread the smiles. I appreciate that, Alex. Much love. All the cars are sold out at the dealers. Yes. I mean, you talk about demand issues. I'm not entirely sure what people talk about when they say demand issues. So there's a lot there. There's a lot is happening today. I agree. But here's the thing. It's a quieter market session, which essentially allows a move like this to happen, right? If we talk about volume for the day, the volume is sitting at 18 million. Actually pretty decent for the day. We have 2 hours to go. So about average that we've, for what we've been seeing for the last month-ish. But if you talk about gap fills, it seems like we have filled that gap down again, but we're going to want to see a close above 654-ish for that to hold. And that's why I went long on our shorter term position for myself, because, risk reward potentially can be bigger here. And also, I didn't buy weeklies for this week, considering that it's a shorter week in trading, 4 days instead of 5. I bought next week's, and the sacrifice I made there is I bought further out than I wanted to. So, yeah, we'll see. Yes. So, if we talk about macro, Amazon is all of the money. This is the way I look at the market right now. All of the money that is going into Amazon and people that are finding newfound profits there, it's going to come back into tech some way or another. Netflix is up 1.28%. Nvidia is up another percent. Nvidia is just crazy. $826. It's just nuts. I swear. Let's go back to the month. I swear, a month ago, when Nvidia announced their stock split, I was like, I don't want to chase this thing. That's one of the clear examples that, FOMO could have paid me out so bad there. Palantir's sitting at 25-ish bucks. Roku's up a little bit more. It's the beginning of a shorter week after a long weekend, obviously. So, some doldrums to be expected. But when you look at the markets look pretty decent. All tech is pretty much up for treasury yields being down, other than Tesla. So what that means to me kind of is probably the sell-off today on Tesla could be overly done based on, I don't know, people, nefarious holders selling off on lower volume potentially. So yeah, Alex, I don't know. How's it going, Zach? Lunarist says Tesla only built up inventory in quarter 2 because it's pretty hard to operate as a business with inventory as low as it was. Yes, they did, and I'm glad they did. But what's crazy is Tesla built up inventory in a quarter where chip shortages were essentially plaguing the auto industry, which is nuts if you think about it, right? So will you get rid of that Doge ticker when it goes to 10? And I want to get rid of that thing right now. But I'd be doing us a disservice in case some move happened. But I'm on board with you. And you know what? Let's do that. At 10 cents or under, it's gone. By the way, Ethereum's climbing today. Ethereum's sitting at $2,300, up 3 or 4% here. Security's a trap. How's it going? Welcome from Discord. Security says, thanks for the Elon reply. Yeah, that was random. So yesterday I was here's how many this is a live feed of notifications that are happening on my Twitter. By the way, follow me if you want at Hey It's Yashu. Link is I think in the description. Yesterday I was tweeting about my road trip. I said that we just finished our first road trip, 1,580 kilometers. By the way, this is round trip, not one way. Autopilot enabled for 97% of trip. Let me talk about autopilot after I talk about the Elon reply. A huge saver of mental capital and felt safe. Only one ghost breaking situation. I'll talk about this. And I paid $0 for supercharging. We had free supercharging for a year as a part of our promo for taking delivery in December before year end. And so we didn't pay for any supercharging cost, which would have been, like, you're talking about gas cars, that would have been crazy. And so I said, one question for Elon Musk: when will autopilot be able to recognize digital variable speed signs? One problem that we had was autopilot was awesome. I had it on pretty much the entire time that I could safely. But one problem was it where some highways here in the interior of British Columbia, they have variable speed signs. So they don't actually give you like an analog version of what the speed limit is because it's government controlled based on weather conditions up there. So it was 100 kilometers an hour, which is like 40 miles an hour, something like that, very slow, right? But autopilot would not recognize it. So for me, for an hour of driving, it was stuck on 60 kilometers per hour as my speed on autopilot, even though the variable speed sign said 100, 100, 100 every single time. Now that wasn't a big deal because all I did was I just put the pedal to the metal and I just kept my foot down on the accelerator and I just manually kept it in autopilot at a higher level. But then Elon said to that, caused by switching frequency of light source, surround videos, which is multiple cameras across several frames, improving frames per second exposure setting tweaks solves this all in the FSD build. So I'm guessing what he means is, if you sometimes have like an old camcorder and you record your television set and you see those black screens in between each frame, I'm guessing a lot of what autopilot software is seeing is basically hit or miss for those digital screens. So super excited if that's true. That says no one's talking about positive news. Tesla was the bestseller in Britain for the month of June. Gadget. Here's the thing with Tesla. No one talks about positive news, right? It just gets hidden across mainstream media, but totally. One Gurjalava which is who is a channel member. Thanks for being a channel member. Media coverage of China crackdown on Didi is getting big coverage, which is impacting NIO, in my opinion, Tesla as well. That's also a good point. Yes, over the weekend, China government, CCP essentially, has cracked down on some companies, one being Didi. And yes, that definitely spreads fear, uncertainty, and doubt for companies that operate out of China. My question to that, right, is you're totally right and totally bang on with that. But look at Apple. Apple's up 1.5% today. Do you get another company that is more friendly with the CCP than Apple right now, right? So yeah, it's interesting. Alex, sounds to me that Elon says that they already solved it. I think a lot of these issues have solutions. It's just a matter of when they get released on them. Pardon me. I'm not sick. I've just been inhaling so much wildfire smoke over the last 3 or 4 days that I feel like I have. Aries says 8,000 put contracts written at 650. Well, interesting. Okay. So 657 on the stock price. I thought I'd come on today. Obviously, it's not a celebratory day as of right now. Who knows what happens in the next hour and a half here? But I think it's interesting to note that on the first day of the week of the shorter week, that is after the long weekend, all of this gets released in terms of FUD. That almost makes me more bullish for the next couple of weeks prior to earnings. The big wrench in earnings for me mentally that I'm trying to get over is this Bitcoin impairment loss. I know we can calculate it. I'm just trying to figure out if the offset of increased margin from Model Ys in Shanghai, which we know will provide a great boon to Tesla for earnings, and this Bitcoin impairment loss, how they kind of jive out for each other. That's one big thing I'm trying to think about, because I think the FUD answer to this sell-off is literally, well, okay, fund managers that have front-run deliveries have now basically said, okay, well, we don't need to hold for earnings. Let's keep it out because this Bitcoin thing is gonna, shit's gonna hit the fan around it. In my opinion, a lot of these fund managers have already discounted Tesla way past holding 1.5 billion, or actually less than 1.5 billion dollars of Bitcoin right now. I think they've completely written off that money already. So we'll see. I really don't think Tesla has bought or sold more Bitcoin. I really doubt it. Well, okay, maybe bought. That would be an interesting big finger to to the fund managers and to everyone. But they definitely haven't sold. I'm I'm very confident that they haven't sold. And the reason why I say that is because Elon tweeted out that Zachary Kirkhorn has diamond hands on Bitcoin. You know, the definition of diamond hands is quite literally no matter what, you're not going to sell. So, Jan, how's it going? I shook my head when Bloomberg Radio tried to convince listeners that Didi is going down. It should also negatively affect Uber. To me, it should be the opposite. I mean, I personally would stay clear right now of names like these Chinese names, Neo, Didi, Baba. I'd probably stay away from them for a little bit. Tesla's different. Tesla's an American automaker. Yes, they operate in China. Yes, they're probably going to be having a huge manufacturing and huge demand center in China, but so does Apple, right? So, Gadget Harry says Tesla closing above 666 would be good. Well, let's see. Look at the hourly, okay? Check this out. If we check out the hourly, like we probably are in a reversal trend here. I mean, the Ichimoku clouds are green, so we should have some support. We've bounced off what should be our gap fill on the downside. 654-ish was our pivot point for the day, and we bounced pretty much off of that, a couple bucks lower. That's why I went long. To be determined. I mean, if we break, you're right. If we break past the lows of the day, this could have some, again, downside to the low 640s. If you remember, one of my thumbnails actually was, let me try to pull it up here if I can, was quite literally this. Let's pull this up. Try to find it here. It was 710. I had in my thumbnail 710 or 640. I kind of felt like one or the other was bound to happen. Now, we haven't hit 640 yet. We're at 651 is the low. But, typical Tesla talk would tell us that we're probably going to consolidate and just have a big nothing burger story for the next little bit. But the old Tesla of last year in terms of stock price, would run up post a red day. So, Ricardo says, hey man, what do you think would happen to the stock price, to the stock is going to pay dividends? Do you think that would be a good or bad thing, or why? Zero chance that they pay a dividend out, but man, if Tesla announced a dividend, they would not, right? Because, dividend paying companies are usually companies that are not massively growing and spending billions of dollars in CapEx. But if Tesla did that, obviously investors would flock to Tesla. I personally would not like the move, because why would you be giving out a dividend when you could be spending that money to grow? But yeah, dividends are years away, says Michael. Yeah, exactly. I personally wouldn't be happy with it. I can see boomers being happy with dividends, obviously, but dividends would signal to investors that Tesla is done growing, right? Or at least it would to me. Dividends are essentially companies telling their shareholders, hey, we got a lot of money, and to be honest, we don't know what to do with it, and we don't really know how to grow past this, so here's a portion of it, and be happy. Apple's kind of there, right? Apple's hit this maturity stage where, Apple's Apple. So, just is what it is. Alex says, if they give a dividend, I'd sell my entire position. It's so funny because classic investor theory, classic Wall Street theory would tell you stock announces dividends, or stock or raises dividends even, huge boom to the stock. But people that know Tesla as a business realize that Tesla is giving away money that it could use to grow. That's not a good sign. So, yeah. Let's check this out here. Lock says, what percentage of Tesla stock is in your portfolio? Between leaps and stocks, it's got to be like more than 75%. I'd have to calculate what it is. It changes based on how much Tesla falls, but it's quite high at the moment. Let's see. Yeah, it's probably close to that number. Alex says July 30th, 680 calls. Let's go. You know what's interesting is, I was looking at the six, I was looking at the seventh, I was looking at the July 30th, okay? And what I found was how expensive they were. If I pulled up the July 30th options chain, and okay, check this out. For July 30th, which we know will have earnings likely baked in, like very high likelihood of earnings baked in. By the way, I got a question this morning of, when we'll know about Tesla announcing earnings date. As of right now, to my knowledge, Tesla hasn't announced an earnings date yet. We probably get that announcement this week of when they're going to be announcing earnings. The way to check is this is the only way you should check. Don't go to Yahoo Finance. Don't go to any other website. Come to ir.tesla.com, investorsrelations.tesla.com, and look for when they announce their earnings date here. What companies will do is, and this is sidetrack for a second, is they'll just put a precursor holder date in for the 3rd or 4th week of July, maybe first week of August, just put it in there. But you could make trust me, I've lost money before, my stupid idiot self, based on trusting those dates, even though I've done no DD on companies. So be careful with that. But in my opinion, July 30th is probably a safe bet as to bake in earnings. I'm guessing, Alex, that's why you bought these calls. But what's interesting is if you go to the July 30th option chain, and yes, it could potentially be in the first week of August. I'd be very surprised personally. But what's interesting is if you go $100 out the money, so Tesla's sitting at 656 right now. If you go to 760, over $100 out the money, you're still paying $10 for that move, for that on the call side. You're paying $10. That's a lot higher than I expected to be paying for that. Now, Tesla implied volatility has been shooting up. That's obviously part of it. And let's see if I can pull up my Interactive Brokers here. Let's see here. So implied volatility has gone up here. So, obviously the move's been down, and implied volatility is generally going to be disproportionately up on downside moves than it is on upside moves. And the reason for that is, think about it. If a stock in your portfolio falls 40% in a day, are you more likely to buy insurance on that day, or are you more likely to buy insurance on a day where the stock goes up 10, 20%? We, human nature is we tend to have this feeling of invincibility when stocks go up 5, 10, 15, 20% week after week. But when stuff falls 40%, we think it can fall another 40%, right? So we're disproportionately skewed on the downside. And that's why on downside moves, you see more people buying puts, buying options in general, which increases the implied volatility more proportional or disproportionately a little bit. That's at least the theory that I have. So, yeah. So, yeah. That's not to say that selling calls make sense, right? Here's the thing. Though these are expensive, though these 750s are expensive, here is the flip side to it. And obviously these have fallen 36% on the day. But here's the flip side of this, right? Is these are not going to deteriorate massively if Tesla stays flat up until probably earnings day, right? Like these will likely, if Tesla follows a trajectory for earnings as, is kind of 101 trajectory for implied volatility, which is as earning day approaches, implied volatility will go up at a percentile level, then these are not something that you potentially want to put on as a trade to sell premium right now. That being said, if you sell this and Tesla falls 10% tomorrow, obviously you're going to make money, right? But I'm just saying 750 is $100 away is still $10, which is kind of nuts. Zach says I sold these when they were at 700. Well, you made out like a bandit. Nice. So let's see here. Alex says, Yash, have you thought about what if they bought more Bitcoin? I haven't given that much thought other than the comment that I just got. I suppose it's possible. I mean, anything's possible. I just feel like, Tesla putting out the news of, hey, we're not going to be collecting Bitcoin as a payment method anymore until it's cleaner. And then them in that same quarter buying Bitcoin, doubling down or whatever. I mean, they sold 10% of their position. It'd be weird for them to come in and rebuy Bitcoin. I think one thing to do with diamond hands is the fact that, when you have diamond hands, you don't really worry about averaging down as much. You just kind of continue to buy at a periodic pace. But I think Tesla is not a pure diamond hand in that sense. I think Tesla is just like a one and done buy, and then that's it. And them selling 10% and then buying, like, then you would start sparking articles about Tesla is actually a Bitcoin trading company, that buys and sells positions based on Bitcoin price. And that's how they make their money. Like, yeah, I think they would just be opening up a Pandora's box, in my opinion. Yeah, Matt says the headline could be, he puts in quotes, Tesla doubles down on Bitcoin after impairment loss. Yeah, exactly, right? So let's check out price action as well. So at a 1 minute level, so we're sitting at 656 for all the audio listeners here. Why am I wearing a Hawaiian shirt? Well, listen, it's 28 degrees. The sun is out. I'm sweating profusely. That's probably TMI, but it's very hot. And my fan's off because I realize that when I turn my fan on my room, it screws up my mic. So Hawaiian shirts are great for days like today. So it also it accentuates my dad bod. So okay. So if we look at macro, the Qs are green. Qs are recovering pretty well here. Check this out. So at a hourly level, or let's put up the 30-minute level so we can get some more info here. At a half an hour level, the Qs are increasing. High of day on the Qs is, let me just check. I think it's 360. High of day is 360.47. So we're about $1 away from highs on tech. The rest of tech looks pretty strong. Tesla is somewhat recovering from lows here, but remember, the majority of the volume came in Tesla in the first half an hour of trading. We really haven't seen much in terms of volume since then. Subway sandwiches are on sale, absolutely. Harry says, "Where price action is stuck between 655 and 660." Well, as you say that, hopefully it breaks up past 660 here. Faisal says, I was bullish on Tesla. Okay, looks like we're popping here, folks. 658 coming up. I was bullish on Tesla by their production delivery report, says Faisal, but I was wrong. It probably didn't mean Wall Street expectations. Well, listen, I think last week was more of a better indicative, a better a prediction of what Wall Street was thinking. Remember on Thursday when we traded, or on Friday when we traded, pardon me, post delivery numbers coming out, stock was flat. So I think today is just, it's just a bunch of things. You can't say it's one thing that is happening in Tesla, in my opinion, today. I think it feels like a coordinated attack on Tesla with all these articles coming out related to FUD. That's why I bought today as at a shorter term position. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Let's finish green, says Tesla owner. Yes, hope so. Let's do it. Chan says the nice thing about work from home is that clothes are optional. Exactly. Yes. I mean, 203,000 or whatever that they delivered, and 205,000, 206,000 that they produced in a quarter where there were chip shortages and everyone thought demand was half as much in China or something. Like it's just, Tesla can never win, right? But you know what? I see so many parallels between what we saw in Apple earlier this decade, or last decade, I guess, with Apple in China and the FUD, and iPhones not being that good, and people hating on Apple for a multitude of reasons, and anything that came out. I remember when I used to, like, the stock I used to trade in between 2012 to 2015, really for a couple of years, there was almost exclusively Apple. I loved trading Apple, held Apple. My dad loves Apple. But I remember any sort of stuff that would come out with Apple, it essentially is kind of what we're seeing with Tesla. Like, anything would be a news story, which is such a signal that the market at least cares about you. In my opinion, the worst thing that can happen for a stock is the market forgets about you and doesn't even care, right? News stories come out, no one covers it. Good news comes out, no one covers it. Bad news comes out, no one covers it. I almost feel like that's worse. In Apple, I remember in 2013 or something like that, when maybe 2014. Actually, it's probably before then. I remember a stupid article came out. Oh, YouTube, the YouTube app. Because if not sure if you remember, YouTube, the app used to be actually native on your iPhone. It was like this old looking app that used to sit. I'm gonna try to find it actually. YouTube app native. I can try to find it. The old logo, and it used to actually be installed. It's this one right here. This old native YouTube app. I'm not sure if you guys remember that. The OGs will. And I remember this whole FUD piece came out back in the day where, oh, Apple is ditching YouTube. YouTube has a great amount of people that spend hours and hours on day. It's going to be terrible for Apple, blah, 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 blah. When in reality, all that was happening was that Apple was essentially saying to YouTube and Google, hey, make your own app. We're not going to pre-install your app for you in our phones. I remember Apple selling off on the news and FUD coming out. It's the parallels are crazy. Here you go. Hopefully I focused it in. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's Vasil says, if Tesla doesn't solve full self-driving and robotaxis, what is their ceiling? Good question. Now, okay, I have a video out, and you're probably going to be like, well, I just asked you about the opposite. But check out my video on what is full self-driving subscription worth today. And the reason why I say that is because, in my opinion, Tesla doesn't have to solve right now for level 5 autonomy and robotaxis. If all they did was package what they have for full self-driving as a software suite and sell that at a discounted rate for what it's worth today, not at level 5 pricing, not at robotaxi pricing, but what it's at for today. And I do like a kind of like a pseudo DCF on it, and I put a PE on it, and we come up with some good numbers on that. Now I have another video out on what is Tesla worth if it just sold cars. I'm trying to forget what that one is called. Let me see here. So, check those out. Here's the one I was talking about is it's this one. What is Tesla's FSD monthly subscription worth on stock price today? That's one that I would go through. And the other one is, I'm trying to find out what is Tesla worth if it just sold stocks. I forget the name of the video that I had. I'm gonna have to. You're gonna want to go back to January to find that one though. But go through it, man. What I realized is like how many freaking videos I've created. I never thought I would be creating as much content as I did, but I guess that's what you do when you like what you do. So 655 on the share price. Interesting day today. King says, when can I buy a Lambo? Well, King, if you can get it right now, go for it. Alex says, they've almost solved autonomy. Ways to discuss. Yes, great response. And you know what? I saw this great comment, and I think he's a listener. He's a friend of the show. I'm gonna try to find it here, but it might be a little bit hard. And I saw this great comment by Brendan, by Brandon Smith. Brandon, if you're watching, shout out to you. Yesterday, he said he replied to Elon's tweet, to my tweet, Subtle Flex, that he said, at least I can appreciate Elon at least talking about what's going on in the current version 9 release, due to be released at some point. We can't expect any for certain dates. I think, and this is what I liked. I think of it like a video game, except life and death is actually life and death. So best take your time. I agree with that. Now that is a great way to put it. Good, super awesome perspective on that, because what they're solving is quite literally life and death. As I was going through my road trip, I had this kind of epiphany moment. I was trying to stay awake towards the end of my road trip. We're about an hour away, and I just had this spark moment where I was like, I've just literally saved so much mental capital, so much headache. Quite literally, I was just, the reason why we were able to make this trip in so short of a time was quite literally because of autopilot. Now I know if I had FSD, maybe it'd be better. You know, that's why I want the subscription, because I'm not, I didn't buy the $10,000 package. But quite literally, it is life and death. It is, and though FSD subscription is not life or death, that's why Elon, if you're listening, just release FSD subscription already. I don't know what the holdup is, but that's what I'm saying is if what they have right now they just sold, it's still worth a lot of money, right? So FJE says, let's push for a stock split. Okay, listen, I think some people think I'm anti-stock split. I'm not anti-stock split as much as I just don't think it happens. Now, if it happens, trust me, as a person that has seen what has recently just happened, if you don't have to go very far in the past to look at what happened with Apple last year, Tesla last year, Nvidia this year, a stock split is going to run up the stock preceding the stock split very much, right? We've seen that happen. I mean, past doesn't always indicate future, but man, I'd be very excited, right? I just don't think it happens. I think Elon is comfortable with the stock trading at an absolute metric of between 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, even up to 1,000. Because remember, a lot of their investor deck, a lot of their new comp deck, a lot of their training has these absolute numbers around stock price and P&L for employees and all that sort of stuff baked in. And I guess they could rehaul everything and then split the stock maybe 10-1 or something. I just don't know if that happens. But if it does, again, I'll be happy. So, I don't know. Jan says, for the ceiling and other ifs, look at the report from ARK put out a year ago. It contains several scenarios with likely percentages, including the death of Elon Musk. Thanks, Jan. That's a great point. Yeah, pull up ARK Invest's model on that. Yeah. Subscription will change the narrative from car company to SaaS. Absolutely, Alex. Exactly. And you know what? Man, I hate promoting all my stuff, but check out this video that I put out. Let me know if you have or not a stock like ETF right now. Oh, shit. Here we go. Check out this one. 26 industries Tesla is disrupting. Hold on one sec. Let me just move this over. Tesla stock is like owning an ETF. 26 different industries Tesla is disrupting. This screen cap from VM_1, spelled out 11, is great. I go through all the different industries, and this is the mistake that I think a lot of people think is Tesla just makes cars, which is fine because I have a video on what is Tesla worth if they just made EVs. Even then, it's hard to see Tesla overvalued long term for me. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. Security says that list is missing finance. Oh, like giving out loans and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much of a cash cow that could be. But you know what? That would be better than giving out a dividend. So yeah, I think Tesla does give out Tesla loans in some areas, right? Not here in Canada. We had to do ours through a bank, but yeah. Amazon is propping up the Nasdaq, says Harry. Amazon is killing it. Congrats if you caught Amazon. Alex says, please self-promote. It's all education, reminds us where to look. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate that. Yes, Michael says, on your chart, you mentioned mining as in Bitcoin, but they actually meant mining as in lithium. Yes, I totally realized that after. And yeah, you guys are totally right. Yes, it's about mining all of these commodities and these metals. So absolutely. You know what's crazy is I missed that, and despite that, the video was still 16 minutes long. So it just shows you how many different industries again Tesla is disrupting. So financial insurance is a high profit for automakers. So securities. Yes, I mean, okay. Finance, I'm less excited about. Insurance, I'm super excited about. You're right. Insurance is because here's the thing with insurance is that we learned this in our econometrics class back in university. We did this whole boring month-long segment about insurance. Essentially, what is insurance, right? Insurance is, and by the way, we're testing 654 again, coming back down on Tesla. And insurance is essentially who can underwrite best fitting to the data, right? The reason why, I'm not sure if you have experienced this in your areas, but essentially what insurance companies are trying to do is they're trying to map out what is their systematic risk, individual risk, map it out based on their plans. So then they can map out what is their break even based on their premiums and then add their margin on top of that, right? The companies that come in your area sometimes and they come in like at 50% of the cost of other insurers, like for example, here in Canada, we have ICBC, which is our BC insurance optional car insurance company regulated by the government, and then we have optionals like BCAA or insert random insurance company here, and sometimes they come in at like 50% of the cost, but then you realize that they don't survive after 3 or 4 years of giving ridiculously low premiums. They either start ramping up their premiums because they're losing so much money, or they realize that, hey, we gotta go bankrupt because our data, our price points were not data fitting. We were underwriting people that were way too risky for us. So insurance, the name of the game with insurance is data collection and the best fitting data, right? Like, so when we talk about insurance, the reason why I'm excited about Tesla insurance is who has the most data on a car owner in any other company, in any other auto company other than Tesla. Tesla has 8 cameras around the car, a camera on the inside, privacy concerns aside, quite literally maps out how fast you drive, how fast you accelerate. Do you go on yellow lights way more often than you should? Do you go through red lights? We can talk about privacy concerns later about that. But in terms of insurance, it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue that Tesla doesn't have the best data around insurance. So, Jan says, is there value in Tesla providing data collected by the cameras to third parties? Potholes in roads, stolen cars, fashionable colors, damaged road signs. You know what, Jan? The biggest thing I can see there is like Google Maps for Tesla. Tesla can just have their fleet go out, take essentially what Google Maps does with 360 views around neighborhoods, but just crowdsource it with their fleet. One thing I do hate about my Model 3 is the maps navigation. I like quite literally, like everything else I love. The autopilot I love, this I love, but the directions are horrible. I love Google Maps for directions. 3 or 4 times during our trip, Tesla Nav would take me in a big loop around a highway when quite literally I could have just taken a left and just gotten there right now. Their navigation system needs to step up. It needs to step up. That's my one criticism with the Model 3. There was 3 or 4 times during the trip where I had to actually pull out Google Maps. And I was like, and this doesn't happen on the highway, so don't be scared about that. It happens in city streets often. It happens sometimes in smaller cities and towns. It happens in somewhat secluded areas. Google Maps is hard to beat for directions in those areas. So Alex says, what are your thoughts around Elon, Warren Buffett, buy coin tweets? I'm thinking that he's saying buy Bitcoin and Doge. I mean, let's analyze it. And then we'll step out here. Let's see here. So I'm guessing you're talking about Elon's tweet about this. Where is it? Did he delete it? Oh, I think did he delete his Warren Buffett? His Buffett tweet? Let's see here. Huh. Maybe he deleted it, but I know which one you're talking about. It's not this one. It's maybe he deleted it. Or maybe I'm just too thick to find it. Let's see here. Oh yeah, he deleted it. Huh. But he trolled Warren Buffett, which I think is hilarious, right? And then he deletes it. Okay, yeah, so I missed the news. Sharing what he looked like was a bullish crypto quote attributed to the billionaire investor. Let me just move this around here. The tech entrepreneur whose comments on social media have been moving crypto markets this year later removed the post with the obvious fake Warren Buffett's statement. I think Elon is just a troll. I think he enjoys the fact that people say billionaires control other billionaires, and I think he just did that. Do I think it means anything around buying coins? I mean, I guess to be determined, but to be honest, I don't think so. That's my guess, though. Who knows? It got flagged. He's still what? Really? It got flagged. Huh? Interesting. Come on, Power Hour, we need some volume, says Harry. Yes, volume is so it was 18 million about an hour ago now, and volume is now sitting at 19 million. So we had about 1 million shares traded. So again, let's see what happens here for the rest of the week. It's going to be interesting nonetheless how the week goes. Again, it's a shorter week, so be careful buying weeklies and stuff like that if you don't realize that you only are buying 4 days instead of 5. Today's not Monday. And Tommy says, according to Sawyer on Twitter, Tesla has 1.1 million Cybertruck reservations. I wonder what percentage will commit to buying. In my opinion, and 1.1 million reservations is crazy, right? That's crazy. I think about 33% of those people will actually follow through and buy when push comes to shove. I just know so many people that have like 5 or 6 reservations each that don't really have an opportunity, that don't really want to close on 6 cars. They just have them as like kind of like pseudo call options. I just think about 33% of them, something close to that, will actually commit to buying. But who cares? It's not like Tesla can fill 330,000 cars. A Cybertruck's in its first year. Demand is not the problem. I think it's kind of a stupid argument for me to have right now about what percentage of them are going to close. I'm not saying your question is stupid. I'm just saying I'm stupid. Because at the end of the day, Tesla is going to be production constraint anyways. So, Alex says, I'm buying a tri-motor Cybertruck. I'm hoping to be the first one to get in my hood. Business truck. The tri-motor is just nuts. Like, I can't even imagine how it feels like to sit in a car like that. Just nuts. M. Kelsey says, one here. They'll sell every Cybertruck that makes, says Alex. That's what I think too. Exactly. Maple says, do you guys see the Bloomberg FUD piece released this today? Yes, go back to my video towards the beginning. I go through all of the FUD for the day and everything and my thoughts around that. So awesome. Hey, much love to everyone watching it. 389 viewers. If you're new, if you enjoy the commentary, if you enjoy talking Tesla, make sure you hit the subscribe before you leave, just in case you never come back. Hit the like on this video. Leave me a comment. Much love to everyone watching. I had an amazing time on my Model 3 road trip. There's some things that Tesla needs to fix, but I'm confident that it'll get there over the long haul. Remember, if I bought a Chevy Bolt, I can't expect an update to come next week to fix my car. With a Model 3, at least we have that hope. So super excited for the week moving forward. I have far out. I think it's like 7:30 something, or the calls for next week or something like that. Something super far out. It's a total lotto again. For everyone asking about what calls I bought, it's for me anything less than 2 weeks, even 3 weeks, I essentially write off. Or I have to really, because those are just going to degrade massively, especially far out the money. But I'm hoping for a bounce back for the rest of the week here. Let's see how it goes. You guys are buying 3 Cybertrucks. You guys are crazy. I wish I could buy a Cybertruck, but Avi doesn't like the Cybertruck as much. Maybe I'll try to change your mind. Much love to everyone. Take care. Thanks for everyone watching. If you're new, again, make sure you hit the subscribe if you like the commentary, if you like the channel. Much love, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for, by the way, I didn't say thanks for 10,000 subscribers. Crazy. Thanks, Juju Gang. Much love to everyone here. Take care. Peace.